What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knots, and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns. 5 chilling stories from the deep web. Number 5. When I first heard about the deep web and Tor, I was pretty excited to check it out. I don't exactly remember where I read about it, but it seemed interesting. So one day I decided to try it out, but it was the most idiotic thing I ever did. I don't exactly know what caused that incident to happen, but whenever I remember it, it sends chills down my spine. It took me a week to get used to the fact that anything worth finding was really hard to find on the deep web. I ended up just casually searching for recreational drugs and weapons, but had no real interest in them. I actually found it boring and thus decided to join a chat room and find something interesting. But I didn't know anything about it. So I did my research and found a chat room that was named something like Red or something like that. The members were really weird and most of them were multilingual, so I couldn't really understand and finally just stopped using it. But that's when the worst part came. The laptop I was using had an LED indicator that glowed when the camera was in use. I never used it, thus the glowing of the indicator was an unusual thing for me. But whenever I connected to the internet, it started glowing and glowed continuously for around 6 minutes or so. This happened for about 3 days. I then uninstalled Tor and deleted everything related to it, but nothing seemed to help. So I finally reinstalled the operating system altogether. After that, the glowing stopped. The fact that someone was observing me at 2 a.m. in the morning without me having any sort of knowledge was really horrifying. Number 4. This was back in 2015, and I was doing freelance work and was hired by a client to do some improvement to her personal blog. One day, I noticed that the security plugin inside of the blog popped up a few alerts, so while I was checking it out, I saw a new administrator on the account inside the blog which wasn't there about 12 hours ago. I called the woman on Skype and asked if she gave anyone else access, but she didn't. She told me that she'd gotten a call from her bank that someone tried to purchase something using her card for around $3,000. It was denied because of some authentication error, thankfully. Her PayPal account then sent out almost $1,200 to 3 separate accounts. I've heard of stories like this before and I had an idea of what was happening. She gave me remote access to her PC and the first thing I noticed was that there were a good number of processes running in the background that didn't really do anything. I tried multiple antivirus programs, but that didn't do much either. Her personal email ID was hacked and the ID pretty much carried every account she used to connect to Facebook, Twitter, her bank, credit cards, and everything. I told her to reset every account that she had. It took almost a week to find out the full length of the damage, and she ended up losing about $2,000 that she never recovered. The backstory was that she was really curious and heard from a friend about the Tor and deep web, and downloaded a file from somewhere on the deep web. She never told me exactly what the file was advertised to be, but it was clearly malware. It sent out a lot of data to a server from her computer, and they pretty much had access to everything. About a month later, when she left this behind and was getting back on her feet, someone sent her an email with private photos. The photos were of her and her boyfriend, and they demanded a decent amount of money to keep them private. She was already depressed and going through a rough patch, but this was the last straw. Her boyfriend was a good person, and he supported her through all of this. She wanted to commit suicide on multiple occasions, but she eventually contacted the police, who were able to help her out considerably. She never paid the blackmailer, and none of the photos were ever leaked. Nobody really knows why. Number 3. It was my 3rd time on the deep web, and I was just looking around at sites. I found this one guy's homepage on the sidebar and saw a link that said, "For journalists and people new to the deep web." I clicked on it thinking it would be helpful and interesting information, but a new page opened and a picture started to load. Thank God for my slow internet, because all that loaded was the head of an old Asian man with blood all over his chin. I quickly closed the tab before the rest of the image loaded. To this day, I wonder what the whole picture was, but at the same time, I'm thankful I didn't see it. So, long story short, my slow internet probably saved me from some PTSD. Number 2. In my entire life so far, I've been truly scared only once in regards to internet use. Never did I worry about illegal downloading, pics, or videos of torture or gore or anything like that. It's the web and no one cares what you do here. But one day I was bored and browsing a popular website among despicable individuals, people who were somehow disconnected or segregated from normal social standards and behaviors. It was a page with contents that would make the average person queasy or disturbed, along with general pornography and violence. I had a habit of visiting this page page when I was bored, and the backlog of stuff that I found is extremely interesting. Once I bookmarked a bunch of links that I found on the website that I didn't bother to ever check out, and one of them was, well, the child pornography website. It wasn't the pictures of the website itself that made me scared, it was just at that point in my life I'd already seen things worse than my imagination, but this page was even worse than that. What really scared me was that I had this page bookmarked for 2 whole weeks before I even bothered to check on it. I obviously deleted everything that I could associate it as evidence that I'd be a kitty fiddler, and I really haven't used the deep web since. Number 1. So I came across this website which is completely dedicated to pedophilia and how to start committing this act by finding kids around you. It was laid out like some sort of magazine with pictures of kids playing in a garden. It literally had sections and tutorials of how to commit this act. It had a dedicated section on how to find the kids, how you can make sure the kid doesn't tell anyone, and how to start the relationship with the kids, including preparing the kid to be emotionally ready. Well, the seriousness and creepiness of this website is quite apparent, and it got into gruesome sexual detail at multiple points. The section I was reading was about how the parents or doctors are going to find it out anyway, and what measures should be taken to preserve such an incident from happening. But the reason I found this website more horrible than any other website on the deep web was that not only was this tutorial, but they also sold child pornography. The worst part was it was promoting it in such a way that it seemed completely normal. The language was pretty plain and simple, as if you're just reading a good recipe book or something. It had more than 6 or 7 sections if I do remember correctly. I didn't read all of it, but I did read a section about the mentality of a child, so it seemed to either be written by an expert or someone who understands child psychology pretty well. It was honestly extremely disturbing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.